Hi, Danny.
Hi, Tatiana.
I'm really excited to have you here today on embracing intensity. So,
Thank you very much for having me. I was very excited to be invited along.
yeah, so you inspire me and you inspire my daughter. So you're an athletics coach, but not only you're an athletics coach. You're a serial entrepreneur. You're someone who lived in different cultures. You're someone who mentors and supports people. And you're someone who is multifaceted and combines different passions, successful journey, and big heart for people. And of course, you also in athletics field, you coached national champion of the United Kingdom in triple jump. You coached jumpers who participated in and NCAAs and were on the podium of NCAAs competitions in the United States. So yeah, so you saw what it is like to live and to channel intensity in your life and in the life of athletes and young people you support.
Yes, and it's been a real privilege for me to have the opportunity to coach a number of athletes. Um, Typically, within the UK, uh, over the past 20 years, we've had a number of youngsters that have joined my group. I've worked with them from grassroots level, right uh, from county championships through to regional and to national championship. Um, Not everyone become the national champion, and sometimes I see what they get from the experience is they get some rules for life, and they've gone
Mm,
on and they've become their best selves in
mm,
industry. But in the field of coaching, um, it's about working with those athletes who have who have found a passion and are looking to gain, whether it be notoriety or to gain qualification for the next level up, or to become so to go into the field of athletics as a part of their career. So
yeah.
yes, I've been really blessed to have worked with some of the most amazing youngsters there, and old ones, of course.
Yeah, and this is fascinating, Danny, because that's what I want to explore here, so that our listeners can benefit from what does it mean to really tapping into that passion, whether it's passion for athletics, whether it's passion for making an impact in the world, solving climate change, leading big organizations, really not walking by the passion, because the passion is an important, for me, is an important part of healthy intensity, and how to use that energy of intensity, as you say, creating those rules for life, not
Absolutely.
to burn out, but to amplify the impact. So what would be your take on how to dial up healthy intensity within
Yeah,
oneself?
yeah, that's a very good question, Tatiana. Um, if I were to, I could probably lay out a number of names on the table and identify different athletes and the different characteristics. And within that, they will have different levels of intensity that they want to bring to their sport. And quite often, as a coach, I have to look at them and I have to go, right, okay, what you bring here is amazing. I love that intensity. I love that passion. And we will channel that and help you to get where you intend to go. However, within that, there are sometimes a case where one particular athlete or another may want to train all day, every day, 7 days a week. And when it comes to a competition, they want to, in the field of jumping, they want to take every jump, despite whether their one leg is hanging off or not. So as a coach, I have to look at it and determine whether this is actually in your interests, because we're always looking at the long-term goal. It is very easy to get into a scrap, and not consider that actually tomorrow you will need to be able to stand up again and face another battle. So we have to look at the overall health, the position that the athlete is in terms of their physicality, their development, their health, because it is unusual for an athlete to go through their entire life without having a little niggle, etc. So we have to look at the whole set and determine whether this is correct, for you at this moment in time.
Yes. So that's what I'm hearing you saying. Well, first of all, being very clear to see the journey is a long-term journey and being clear on long-term goal. Because I see leaders sometimes, while they might be aware of what is long-term goal, but they get lost into business
Yes,
of very important short-term milestones, right?
absolutely.
And as you're saying, training every day because it feels so important. That's another second point. I feel also it's very applicable to the leadership in the boardrooms. It's like people keep on going and going and going. And actually, I remember one of my colleagues who was a professional footballer, he said, rest day is a training day because that's where muscles grow.
Yes, I totally agree. With my background, which I come from an electronics background, I come from a computer industry background, and in my career there, I faced some of the most intense situation where we had issues, and we have that now, where there have been cyber attacks and all sorts of things like that. And I've been faced with those situations in the past, and the intensity that you're caught up with at that moment in time to resolve an issue is all consuming. And it's the same thing for an athlete now. When you're on the runway, when you're lining up in a block to do a sprint competition, it's all consuming. And of course, we prepare the athlete to get into that really intense mindset where they will leave nothing on the track. Is a term you've heard. But there is an element where you have to take a step back and look at the contrast of where you are, what you bring today, and what you could potentially bring tomorrow if you were to just caution yourself, maybe put the clutch in, as we might say, put the clutch in, and allow yourself to step away, rebuild, and then you can go again much better. So the idea that there is no rest day, there's always a training day. Well, yes, only if you're using that rest day to recover, to fully recover, so that you can come back refreshed the next day. And yes, you know, your daughter is a great example where we had to have that conversation where there were niggles that she had, growth spurts and such like, and we said, okay, look, the passion you have, I just absolutely love it. And we can see what you will have tomorrow, but let's just dial it down a little bit, just so that you can survive today, because we know that tomorrow, when you bring it, you will bring it in bucket loads.
Right.
And that's the case.
And that takes real courage to when you really want to dial it up, that you actually the most courageous thing is to dial it down.
Yes,
And
yes,
when I'm observing triple jump, I see that it's so intense. And in this moment, when you like arrive and you actually don't know how it's going to go, because there can between, as I saw, between different jumps there can be significant difference. So if
yes,
somebody jumping at 14 meters, like the champions, it might be that in one of the jumps would be 13 meters, right? So it's
that's
like
right.
there's quite significant difference. So
Yeah,
I'm curious, what do you tell, like how do you coach athletes to stay in the right mindset if one of the jumps doesn't go as anywhere close to their PB,
yes,
to their personal best? Because I think that's a very applicable to business as well. There might be something, and when you share it, so like making it concrete so that people can take away something
yeah,
concretely.
yeah. The, honestly, I love the fact that you've picked up on this one, Tatiana, because it is we actually have the very same thing not only in competition, but we have that in training as well, where an athlete, we know roughly where they will arrive when they hop, step, and jump. But of course, there is so much involved in it, and I quite often refer to um, the event triple jump as it's a combination of science and it's a combination of art, and
Hmm.
it's a case of getting the two to meet.
Hmm.
And when they meet perfectly, the athlete will find that they will exceed their expectation without the impact that they would have if they're trying to force it.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is the work that you do beforehand, the preparation, the small things that you do, actually creates this sort of colors and contrasts on the palette that you will use to prepare and to deliver the final portrait.
Okay, yeah.
Then you can, and when those particular palettes come together, it paints something absolutely beautiful, and that's when you see the big performance come out. But sometimes you've maybe done everything and it all looks perfect. All the subcomponents are all set, and it comes out quite horrible. And you know, and that's where you need to be able to take a step back, to breathe in, and to not to be too analytical, but just to go through the process, because what you're doing is a lot of what you're calling on is muscle memory. If you've done all the practice, then you will go back and you will try and paint that picture again. Um,
Right.
and you try to do it
I,
without making too many changes.
I love that. So basically, as on a track, so in leadership, the preparation is always
Yes,
important,
yes,
right?
yes,
And practicing and experimenting and making
yes,
mistakes, having many jumps that didn't go
yes.
well. In the same way, if we are not taking
That's
risks in our
that's
work, then we don't develop this muscle
that's
memory, right? It's not
that's
an the preparation stays in completely zone of
that
comfort rather than stretching out of the zone discomfort.
absolutely
Another thing what I hear you saying when and I love that you're using colors, it's trying not to force it in a crucial
yes,
moment. And I call it nothing to prove, So it's like literally detaching from outcome, like being completely present, trusting self, having this intrinsic trust in self,
correct,
and and detaching from
correct,
outcome.
correct. This reminds me of a young lady competed on the weekend, and on top of triple jump, I coach long jump, I coach high jump, and I coach some other events as well. And a young lady competed on the weekend, and one of the things I did with her prior to her competition, and I've done that with a number of athletes, where you can see they're having a little bit of crisis within themselves, where they just can't quite trust the process. So they will have done all of the work, and in terms of the pallets that I talked about, everything is there. But because it means so much to them, that one competition means so much, then the tension grows within the body, and it affects the mind. And when you have that sort of tension, it causes friction, which will prevent that athlete from really performing properly. So they will go through the process and think, well, I can't run quite as fast. Well, no, you can't, because you're so much tension in your shoulders. It's like it's locked in, it's locked on. And for a high jumper, they take off at the wrong angle. You know, it'll be all sorts of things, you know, and we can go through a whole list of technical issues that might happen. But, you know, it'll be small things that they will miss because it means too much to them. And so often I'm having to say to them, look, what you need to say to yourself is, it doesn't matter. I must be able to try freely. And even though this is a competition, I must allow myself to make the mistakes, because it's only from making those mistakes that you can actually learn. And it's not just a matter of mentally learning, but it's a matter of being able to physically go through the process, and your body will self-correct after taking the feedback online.
Right. So, and that's actually quite very powerful, because it's the same on a track trying to reach particular height. In the same way, you know, if we are going for the next height in our leadership and our impact, you know, and it means so much. That's where this intensity of meaning so much can switch to the other side, you know, and it's like what I'm hearing is paying attention to the body as well when this tension becomes unhealthy, because to have like a little bit of tension is good, you know, we need a bit of cortisol in the most crucial situations. But when it goes to this so it's like when we become too attached to that outcome, it's reminding ourselves, okay, it doesn't actually matter that much, because it's a long-term journey, and I must allow myself to perform freely. So that's an important reminder. So thank you for that. You know, another thing that I wanted to bring up, I remember in triple jump, you know, there are obviously normally, what is it, 6 jumps, right, that athletes can make, right? And I remember when my daughter was in competitions and she did 3 jumps and she wanted to continue, and you said, stop now, because we need to preserve your energy for the next more important competition. And I thought, wow, oh my gosh, that's actually the hardest thing, because I see leaders going full into everything and not being able to say no. And as a result, actually missing on their big yes. Can you speak a little bit to that? Like,
Absolutely. I have on occasion been taken to task for doing that with my athletes, where I pulled them because it was necessary to preserve them. And you know, there are other forces, if I might refer to that want to see them overperform if necessary. But the important thing there is the coach needs to have a relationship with the athlete to the point whereby they understand each other very, very well. It's actually quite funny because there are a few athletes who they'll walk over to me after doing maybe a jump, hop, step, and jump, so for a triple, and I'll say to them, well, I'm going to give you one pointer. And we enjoy this little game whereby they will actually say to me, I know what you're going to tell me. And I love it because 9 times out of 10, there are a few athletes, they know exactly what it is I'm going to say to them. And in that respect, sometimes it's a case of, as in fact I said to another athlete who competed a week ago, just over a week ago, and it was raining and the weather, it was cold and the muscles was tightening up. I wasn't there. I was on holiday, which was nice for me. But she said to me, oh, it was an awful day. I didn't take my full approach run-ups. I shortened it to a short approach, and I only took 3 jumps. But although I'm on holiday, I'm having a peek. So I'm looking at the performances and seeing what's going on. And I was actually really over the moon. The fact that, she was sensible enough to make those correct calls, because it's a case of, well, what would Danny have said?
Yes, yes, I love that. And that's what actually in the same as in athletics coaching or in
Yeah,
leadership
yeah,
coaching, that's what is the role of the
yeah,
coach, to see what a person might be not seeing completely themselves, and then become so attuned that they can use
yeah,
this without
yeah,
the coach being
absolutely,
there saying, okay,
absolutely.
what Danny, what would Tatiana
Yeah,
say? Not because we hold more wisdom, because it's kind of puts the brain slightly into external
that's right.
reference and allows
Yeah,
ourselves to see ourselves from the different
yeah, yeah,
perspective.
absolutely. And yeah, and actually, I like the fact that you pointed that out, and to see yourself from a different perspective, because when it comes to field events, unlike sprint events, there is so much involved in how our body position, sometimes even our mindset, and that actually when someone can accurately describe what they've seen the athlete do, and quite often, and I've been using the iPad for probably most of my coaching life, and maybe way before it became a popular thing at the track side, to show the athletes and say, this is actually what it looks like. So I'm trying to explain to you, but actually this is what I am seeing. And so it's reinforced. And from that, they can actually take it to the next level, or can take
Yes,
the appropriate action to fix
yes,
something. So
yeah.
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And that's why, sometimes we would be as coaches in a business meeting, because then you can really see what people are
Yes,
doing, what leaders are doing, how they're holding the
yes,
conversation, or how is the team
yeah,
operating, what they become so accustomed to that they don't notice
yes,
themselves.
yes. And
So
and the fact that you mentioned that as well is really interesting, because quite often yes, there are some things you can do without being in present, without being there, so looking at the person in their eyes, and seeing whether in fact they understand or not. So you will just be throwing out an instruction and hoping that they've got it. But as you mentioned, a board meeting, or it is sometimes you've just given a presentation, and you might look around the room and you think, well, okay, did the CEO understand what I just said? Is the financial officer, did they understand? And you have that kind of situation there, and until you can make that connection, sometimes you will never know whether you are just speaking out into a void. So
Mhm.
the difference now when you're working with an athlete and you've given them an instruction and uh, you can see the light goes on in the eyes
Mm.
and they will go out and they will that change and the performance sometimes boom, it's
Right. So it's
overwhelmingly
like,
fantastic. So you just that's what you live for. Um,
yes, yes. So check for this like feedback loop,
yeah,
right? Did actually another
yeah,
person got my idea? Did they get my point? So, Danny, we have around 4 minutes left. So, what would be your advice for people to dial up their intensity in a healthy way?
yeah. I would say you need to be in the moment. Okay, you need to be in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to allow yourself to make mistakes. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
give yourself the opportunity to correct those mistakes. Give yourself
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity to to listen fully, and be present
Mm-hmm.
when you're listening.
Mm-hmm.
And also, one of the really key things is with intensity, you could either be fearful of something or you can embrace something with the what comes with the extra blood flow, the
Mm-hmm.
heartbeat, uh, the nervousness. All of that is an energy that you can channel. And when you channel it
Mm-hmm.
correctly, then that 12 meter can easily turn into 13 meters, can easily turn into 14 meters because you've turned
Mm-hmm.
up the amplitude and you've embraced the amplitude that comes with the intensity.
Yes, I love that because actually this nervousness, it's energy. And, I say sometimes to my daughters and my clients and myself, when the difference between anxiety or
Yeah,
worries and excitement is a breath,
absolutely.
right? So when we feel that it's the same type of the
Yes.
hormones, when we feel that type of energy, especially in a crucial
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
is to say, oh wow, I'm actually
Yeah.
excited. And remember to breathe,
Yes. Yeah.
right? Rather than going into the spiral of fear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It all makes a difference.
Yeah. So that's, yes. Thank you, Danny. So there are some great insights. I mean, I'm definitely taking away of taking time to rest as well, learning when to say no and preserve the energy, and being present
Yes.
and allow yourself to flow basically in the moment.
Oh,
Like it doesn't need to be
yes.
perfect.
Absolutely. And when you flow, the big jumps come.
Right. In on a track or
Yeah.
in life. So basically,
Absolutely.
and it's actually familiarizing ourselves. What does the flow look
Yes.
like
Yes.
for
Yes.
ourselves? So is there anything else you want to say to our listeners before we say goodbye?
Well, thank you very much for tuning in. And please keep an eye out for the young athletes coming through. Support them as much as you can. And yeah, thank you very much for having me along. It's been really good fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed having you. Thank you for your wisdom. And if people want to connect with you, where can they find
So
you,
it's
Danny?
Danny Sawyers, Danny dot Sawyers on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn, Danny Sawyers. But I'm also a Brunel jumps coach, so you'll find me there. Um, yeah,
Okay, wonderful. So yeah, I love how you follow your
thank
passion,
you.
and thank you for helping young athletes and not so young athletes to dial up their intensity in a healthy
Thank,
way. And thank you for your
thank
time,
you so
Danny.
much.